We are happy to welcome you, dear participants, in our online event, Green Chemistry Alternatives, the Path to a Sustainable Future. The event, organized with the help of Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center in the partnership of Center for Green Chemistry and Green Engineering at Yale, within the project of UNIDO, Global Program of Innovations and Networks in Green Chemistry, GreenChem, financed by the Global Environment Facility. My name is Kateryna Romanova. I'm an expert from Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center in Ukraine, and I have the honor to be a moderator of our today's event. We have here representatives of international organizations, representatives of government, industries, society, educational institutions, everyone interested in green chemistry and safety of environment. We are going to discuss such matters as opportunities connected with green chemistry in Ukraine and paths of building corporations to promote green chemistry and its development. We will have today presentations of Accelerator program and green chemistry program, as well as hackathon and green chemistry in Ukraine, together with international examples of using alternatives to green chemistry. Now I would like to give the floor to Yurii Bondarenko, the Deputy Head of the Department of Ecological Safety, Ministry of Environmental Protection, Natural Resources. Yurii, please, the floor is yours. Hello, dear colleagues. Can you hear me well? Yes, we can hear you. Everything's great. I'm happy to be present at yet another event dedicated to green chemistry. Thank you for the invitation. And this is the matter of green chemistry is of utmost importance right now when our country is moving towards accession to the European Union, joining the EU and implementing the European Green Deal. As the chemical industry is one of the key sectors of the economy, the issue of chemical safety and proper management of chemical products right now is of particular relevance. As you already know, probably majority of you already know, that Ukraine has already launched a major reform of its national chemical safety and management system. In particular, the Ministry of Ecology, the government, is working on implementing the provisions of the basic European technical regulations in the field of chemical safety, such as CLP and REACH. In addition, other components of legislation are being developed to not only reduce the risks to human health and the environment, but also to encourage the chemical industry to move towards safer substances and green technologies, including the implementation of green chemistry principles. All these changes, of course, will help us implement green chemistry principles I have already mentioned. All these changes, all these acts will be discussed later by my colleague Viktoriia, and she will tell you about everything about this because she's the head of the department and she's dealing with this matter. I also would like to mention that it is without doubt that transition of business to European regulation should be carried out using the best available technologies and practices, as it is important for us to follow the current global trends, like right now, Global Green Chemistry Innovation Networking Program. It plays an important role, and it's a great opportunity for all stakeholders to build a network of partnerships and receive international and quality assistance and support for the implementation of green innovations. Once again, I would like to mention that we are extremely grateful to our international partners for supporting Ukraine and to projects like this one for helping us on our way to a green transition. Thank you for attention. I wish you fruitful and interesting communication today. Thank you. Thank you, Yurii, and thank you for such nice words. And Lars Ratjen will now welcome Court, the manager of the program Center of Green Chemistry and Green Engineering at Yale University. Lars, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kateryna. I just can continue with what the previous speaker, Yurii, just mentioned. It's, as always, an honor to be with you. I think, as always, you're a great example of resilience and dedication to this wonderful project. And I'm very happy to see so many of you again after our Train the Facilitators event last month. I really want to congratulate you with following up with this project over and over again. And I think these spaces, these dedicated spaces to see what green chemistry and innovation can do, are extremely important, especially in the Ukrainian context. I think today's event is even more special because the lineup of speakers that you managed to arrange is, I think, very very different topics this time, and I think it's really going to show how green chemistry can be used and can sort of benefit what's coming in many different views, not only scientifically, but also from the innovation standpoint. The Accelerator program will be addressed by our newest team member, Onyeka Obiocha, who's joining us today, and I'm very happy about that too. And well, I don't want to take too much time, but as always, Andrii, Olena, and all the team at the Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center in Kiev, you're doing a fantastic job. And let's keep the ball rolling. This project is just starting. Next year, we will see the great Accelerator program rolling through and starting, and we will see a lot of innovation from your country. And I'm not going to take more time from you. Kateryna, back to you. Just let me tell you thank you once again. It's really an honor to work with you event after event. It's really inspirational. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lars. Thank you for words of support and for our joint movement towards sustainable and ecological future of Ukraine and world in particular. And we'll start with the National System of Safety of Chemicals, and Viktoriia Zhovnir will tell us about that, the main specialist of the Department of Ecological and Chemical Safety, Department of Ecological Safety, Ministry of Environmental Protection and Natural Resources. Viktoriia, please, the floor is yours. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone who's present here today, and a little bit in more details about National System of Management Chemicals. On the 29th of June this year, the law of Ukraine on management chemical safety came into force, and it has main ideas that are directed towards prevention of a hazardous effect of chemicals on environment and health of people. There are also certain requirements concerning activity of entities of those who are stakeholders in green chemistry, taking into account international commitments of Ukraine. It is a framework integration document that will help us create national system of managing chemicals and also implementation of European regulation in this sphere. On the 10th of May this year, the government approved a technical regulation concerning packaging of chemicals. This document helps Ukraine to implement norms of CLP, European regulation, and it is a system that is used in the global level system of labeling chemical products. And here we also have European rules concerning classification of hazardous properties according to 33 classes of danger and packaging of chemicals. And also responsibility from the participation is getting bigger. Operators before providing chemicals in the market have to guarantee that for chemical products that they are producing, they should conduct classification according to criteria of a grid system of classification. This chemical product is packed properly and has all the information about danger. One more fundamental technical regulation is REACH 1, and it was also approved by the government of Ukraine on the 23rd of July this year. As I have already mentioned, this document is implementing norms of European regulation REACH. The main requirement is mandatory registration of all chemical substances that are produced in the market of Ukraine, up to 1 ton per year. This technical regulation has certain range of limitation, and using on the market of Ukraine chemical products that has uncontrolled risk and it's impossible to control. Also, technical regulation has the least, and the order of how such substances have to be used in the market. It will promote environmental protection from pollution and also decrease the influence of dangerous chemicals. One more event that took place in November previous year, Minamat Convention on also came into power. And it's about mercury, and we also have the draft law concerning defining measures on national level to gradually stop using mercury and stop implementing technological processes with using certain products that have mercury. Right now, Ministry of Environment is working on introducing amendments to the law for implementation norms of European regulation concerning mercury. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Viktoriia. And I would like to give the floor to the program manager of Business Accelerator Green Chemistry of Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center, Olena Tabachuk. She'll tell us about the condition of the development of green chemistry in Ukraine. Olena, please. Hello. I am happy to see all of the participants of our today's event. And right now we have listened to the importance of national system of safety of chemical products, chemical substances, and it's really extremely important topic because chemical products are influencing our life, our health and environment on everyday basis. And in this context, it is important to understand that we should not only control chemical safety, we also have to change the very approach to the creation and usage of chemical substances and processes to prevent any risks from the very beginning. And that's why here we have green chemistry that might help us, and I will tell you about the condition of its development, the state of its development. Apart from that, we will talk a little bit more about the global program of innovations and networks in green chemistry, and then we'll tell you about hackathon and acceleration program that will take place within this one. So green chemistry, it's not just new tendency or yet another scientific concept. This is something that does help to eliminate or minimize using of the hazardous substances. And we have 12 principles here in the foundations. They cover all stages of cycle, starting from choosing raw materials and minimizing waste. So they are changing the very foundations, the very basis of chemical processes, putting safety and ecological component on the first place. And these principles, this approach is not something abstract. It's real decisions that already now are influencing how we can create and use chemicals. And it is not only the way to safer chemical production, it is also opportunity for innovation and for sustainable development. And here I would like to mention what steps are already made by Ukraine in this direction. Relatively, we can define four directions of green chemistry in Ukraine. It's business and industry, education and science, innovations, and international initiatives. And we'll start with business. In Ukraine, right now, we already have enterprises that are introducing green chemistry principles. Logos are here on my slide of such enterprises, but very often activity in this direction has more intuitive way, not something systematic. So companies respond to changes in legislation, to economic situations, to changes in consumer behavior, and actually, they understand that something has to be done so that production and products become safer and resources are used in the most effective way. And basically, unconsciously, they already introduced principles of green chemistry, transitioning to safer alternatives or to energy and resource-effective technologies. But introduction of new technologies very often requires significant investments, and not all enterprises are ready to have such expenses, and especially in such a difficult time. That's why a huge role is played by the government support and international partners as a stimulus for business, incentives for business that can fast an introduction of green chemistry principles in different areas. Education and science. Today, we already see how Ukrainian universities are integrating courses of green chemistry into their learning curriculum. Somewhere it's optional subject, somewhere mandatory, but it's an important step towards forming new generation of specialists that will implement those principles of green chemistry in practice. And apart from that, there is already interest from enterprises to green technologies, and also demand from the side of our specialists that understand these technologies and they understand their benefits and specifics. But the drawback to wide implementation of green chemistry course is a lack of Ukrainian language sources of information and pretty expensive foreign sources. Not all universities, let's be frank, not all lecturers can afford buying some foreign manual. But despite limited resources, Ukrainian researchers are working actively towards developing new green processes and materials. And these scientific projects they are this important bridge between practical and theoretical, and very often they become basics for startups. Today's startup system in Ukraine is pretty developed and has pretty loud voices. Ukrainian startup companies and teams are taking active part in different international competitions. They are receiving investments from international funds and getting on international markets, but still there are certain limitations. Majority of innovators are facing with. First and foremost, this is lack of business expertise, this is lack of financial access and limited access to markets. It is difficult to engage first clients. That's why it is important to support such initiatives, especially on early stages. Nevertheless, all these challenges are possible to overcome, and here international programs can play a crucial role, because there is significant potential for partnership between business, government, and international donors in creating joint programs to support green innovations. Ukraine is already actively involved into various international projects and programs directed towards ecologization of national industry, and one of the key projects that is helping promoting green chemistry in Ukraine is GreenChem program, which is implemented by UNIDO organization with financial support of GEF. Center for Green Chemistry and Green Engineering at Yale. Our performance and national performer is Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center. Apart from Ukraine, this program is also implemented in 6 other countries, and it consists of 3 main components, which in fact cover all above-mentioned directions of development. And now, in a nutshell, I will tell you about main activities that performed within this project. The first of all, it's worth mentioning huge training on preparing facilitators of green chemistry in Ukraine. Leading international experts conducted a range of trainings that gave our participants deep understanding of the concept of green chemistry, why it appeared, main principles of accessible technologies, and example. 40 participants among those who visited all the days got certificates of facilitators and all materials of the trainings. That's why now they can use this information to spread knowledge in their networks. Apart from that, within 2 other years, we conducted 7 more informational events. More than 600 participants visited them. These were representatives of industrial companies, state institutions, NGOs, educational institutions. Apart from that, within this program, we also have a video podcast dedicated to different directions of green chemistry. 2 episodes are already available on our YouTube channel, so please scan QR code that you see on the screen or use the link in the chat, and you already can view episodes on importance of integration, of course, of green chemistry in curriculum and potential of development of startups in the sphere of green chemistry. The episode about green chemistry and its opportunities in industry is being prepared to be broadcast. So please follow our social networks not to miss it and to watch it. We promise that it will be interesting. I have already mentioned that one of the reasons that putting brakes on developments in green chemistry is limited access to resources, financial, infrastructural, software, and program Accelerator in green chemistry will let startups and small companies that have bright ideas take part in the series of specialized trainings that will help turn ideas into a real successful business. Participants of Accelerator will also get mentor support from scientists and business professionals, and the best projects and teams will get the opportunity to show their work to international audience, and they will be able to get funds for implementation and improvement of their idea. Apart from that, every year we'll conduct business competitions and local partners will be engaged. It's different SMEs and also big companies that are looking for certain solutions to their problems. For instance, implementation of chemical problems, substituting solvents, and so on. But one of our next speakers will tell you more details about this, so please stay tuned. And one of these competitions will start already this year, and it will take place from the 1st to the 3rd of November in Kyiv, offline mode. Hackathon will take place within the Festival of Innovation Project Sikorsky Challenge. This event is a unique platform for cooperation between industry and innovative teams, and it will help find solutions to chemical problems with the help of reverse pitching methodology. It means that industrial enterprises will form the list of real chemical industrial challenges, and participants of this competition will try to solve these matters. The main aim is to find ecologically safe, effective, and economically viable solutions on the basis of principles of green chemistry. We invite individual specialists and teams that are ready to find solutions to real chemical challenges that Ukrainian industries are facing right now. So companies and teams, you can register. Please use QR code or the link that you have in the chat. Find out more details there. If you have any questions concerning participation, please write me to my email, or on the website we have the feedback form. Here you see my email. You can write me here. And to sum it up, I would like to mention that despite all the challenges, green chemistry in Ukraine has huge potential for the development. And apart from the support of international partners, we also need our efforts. So that's why I encourage all of the participants and all those who are willing to join this program, share your thoughts, share your developments, how green chemistry can be developed in Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, Olena. And now for the presentation of the platform Green Chemistry for Sustainable Development, I would like to give the floor to Adelina Voutchkova, Director, Institute of Sustainable Development and Institute of Green Chemistry, American Chemical Society. Adelina, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me. can you hear me on the right channel for translation?
Чути, все добре.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here with all of you, and I echo Lars's remarks. We're really inspired by your work, and we hope to be able to support it. My name is Adelina Voutchkova. I'm actually Bulgarian originally, and I've lived in the US for many years, so I'm somewhat local to the region, and I'm really happy to help support in any way we can the efforts in green chemistry going on in Ukraine. I'm currently Director of Sustainable Development at the American Chemical Society, the ACS, in the Washington, D.C., here in the US. And as part of this work, we help support efforts in green chemistry through the Green Chemistry Institute. There is actually a connection between the Green Chemistry Institute and the Yale Center for Green Chemistry that Lars represents. The founder of both institutes is the same man, Paul Anastas. And so I'm really happy to be able to continue the great work that was started by Paul and his colleagues in the Green Chemistry Institute. So I'll tell you very briefly what the GCI, the Green Chemistry Institute, does. And I will introduce one of my colleagues from our team, Ashley Baker, will be able to give you a more in-depth view of one of our latest projects that I think will be most relevant to your efforts, which is a platform for sustainable, green and sustainable chemistry that will be able to connect researchers and connect you with the tools that you need to actually develop some of those chemistries. So very broadly speaking, the GCI works across 4 major pillars. We work in education. We develop education materials for green chemistry. We work with industry groups. We develop roundtable groups, which are consortia of companies that work together to implement green chemistry. We also work in the space of equity and inclusion, try to develop green chemistry solutions and help encourage their development in parts of the world that are sometimes whose problems are overlooked. And as you can see from all of these pillars, we try to further the science. We try to make sure that the chemistry that's being developed really meets the principles of green chemistry that were first introduced by Paul Anastas and John Warner. And so one of the latest projects that I'd like to spend a little bit of time telling you about is the development of a platform that connects researchers. This is a collaborative project with the Yale Center for Green Chemistry and Green Engineering, and we've had the pleasure of working with Lars and Paul Anastas and their team to bring this project to you, as well as with another organization, Beyond Benign, which aims to develop green chemistry educational materials and further green chemistry education. So with that, I would like to introduce my colleague, Ashley Baker. Ashley is a communication specialist within the Green Chemistry Institute, and she has been really instrumental in helping us develop this platform. And so, Ashley, if you're online, if I could ask you to just say a couple of words to introduce yourself, and if you could please share a little bit about this exciting platform with our colleagues in Ukraine.
Yeah, thank you, Adelina. So as you said, I'm Ashley Baker. I support the American Chemical Society's Green Chemistry Institute's communication efforts, as well as being the community manager for the new Green Chemistry for Sustainability platform that we built in partnership with Yale and the nonprofit Beyond Benign. And I did have a few slides. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please share, Ashley. And if you could make sure that under language, under channel, you've selected English to allow for.
Yes, am I on the right language? Okay, so hopefully you
Так,
can
все
see.
добре, чутно.
Okay, great. So this is what the homepage of the Green Chemistry for Sustainability platform looks like. You can scan the QR code now if you'd like to join the network. It's completely free, and I'm just going to walk through some of the exciting features that we have here on this website. So the vision of this site is to have a vibrant, alive, engaging global community where people who are in communities that have needs around green chemistry that they would like to solve can connect with experts in green chemistry and engineering or sustainability, where people can find collaborations and partnerships to share resources, and where we can connect safer alternative technologies to commercialization and scale-up opportunities to create real impact in the implementation of green chemistry and engineering. We have the three sort of main features of this are connecting, discovering, and sharing. So we want this to be a really engaging platform where people can upload their own resources, find their network, and discover new information like publications and reports. So I'm just going to go through each of those connect, share, and discover feature sets that we have on this site. So here, if you go onto the Green Chemistry for Sustainability site, which is actually chemistryforsustainability.org, you can go to the network tab, and there are a number of ways that you can connect with others in green chemistry, engineering, and sustainability, including by searching for people, by research interest, country, language, and you can also send direct messages to other people who are in the network without sharing your personal email. And we already, since our launch in June, have more than 700 people signed up for this site. So there are people from all over the world. You can also connect in different languages as needed. And you can also find organizations that are connected to people in the network who are doing work in the green chemistry space. We also have the option for people when they make a profile to indicate if they would like to be a mentor and in what fields they would like to mentor in. In addition to that, we have community news, centers for innovation, which are NSF-funded centers or National Science Foundation-funded centers in the US. So we have an events calendar of upcoming green chemistry and engineering events around the world. And we will be launching groups where you can have engaging discussions, share resources, invite-only groups, and have engaging forums where you can upload resources and have in real-time conversations. There are a number of features under the Discover category. We have a whole toolkit for researchers that includes things like funding opportunities, green chemistry tools and metrics, a library of safer alternative technologies, which Yale has helped tremendously curate, publications and reports. And we have this really unique tool called Dimensions, where you can search which it says 997,000 on this slide, but it's actually now over 1 million publications that are pre-curated to be related to sustainability. And you can use this tool for free when you make a login for the site and find green chemistry and engineering related publications. There is also a special virtual collection of ACS publications that are tied to the UN SDGs. So you can visit this special collection of papers and search papers by the UN SDG that the research in the paper is connected to. We also have a number of features under our Learn tab, including some basic introductory material on what is green chemistry and engineering and how green chemistry intersects with a number of topics like climate and energy. We have a connection to the green chemistry teaching and learning community, which was launched by Beyond Benign, which is an education-focused research. We also have a list of graduate programs worldwide that are offering green chemistry and sustainable chemistry graduate level training. And we have professional development resources, including this one that I've highlighted here, which is called GC Help, which is created by the American Chemical Society Pharmaceutical Roundtable. And that is also free to access and provides a number of training modules in areas that have been indicated by industry to be important for employees to have. And lastly, we have the share section of the site. So as I said, this is for the community, by the community site. So we encourage people to create an account and upload their own content, including news, events, chemical policies, funding opportunities, publications and reports, tools and metrics, anything really related to green chemistry that can help you showcase your work, as well as find others who may benefit from that work and create connections and sharing in that way. And finally, we are looking for additional feedback. As I said, we launched the site only in June, so it's quite new, and we're still working on developing and designing different parts of the site. So there's a banner at the top of the site if you visit it, and if you explore the site, if you have ideas, ways that it could be more useful for you in your work, or anything like that, please feel free to submit feedback to us. That would be very helpful. So that is my last slide. So I know that was a really quick overview, but yeah, please check it out, create an account. Like I said, it's totally free and it's easy to connect with others through the site and share your green chemistry and engineering resources.
Thank you so much, Ashley, and we really appreciate you sharing the site with our colleagues here. And I just wanted to stress the global aspect of being able to connect and further green chemistry. That's so critical. And I know the Yale Center for Green Chemistry is doing a wonderful job trying to expand the reach of the green chemistry networks across the globe. So this is an opportunity for us to all connect between different sectors and between different continents around the globe, to find collaborators, to find partners, identify future suppliers or clients for some of your products. And for researchers, I know we have some academic researchers with us today, to find collaborators across the globe that I know is critical to furthering the great work that you're doing. So again, and I'm very grateful that we could share this with you today. Just want to encourage you to sign up and to also take a look at the resources that Ashley mentioned, especially the GC Help site, which we hope can be used to further green chemistry tools into industry. So we look forward to continue to connect with you. Please do reach out to us. I'm sure the email list will be provided, but I will also put my and Ashley's contacts here in the chat. So thank you again, Olena and Kateryna, for the opportunity to be with you today.
Hello, I have the question to Adelina and Ashley concerning language of the platform. It's in English, right? And do you have any plans on expanding this platform in other languages? What do you think about that?
Thank you so much, Andrii, for that question. Indeed, I think our aspiration, our goal is to have the platform available in many languages, and we have this feature built in, but as yet we don't have enough users to substantiate this, and we hope as we get more users from Ukraine and parts of Europe that is rich in many different languages, we can identify where we can develop new content. But in the meantime, please feel free to share resources, share your research and other events in Ukrainian, and encourage your colleagues to do so and share resources in their native language, as we hope this will help build out the global aspect of this platform.
Thank you. And I have yet another question, the second one, that in your presentation you have mentioned that on the platform, if you register, there is free access, right, to many materials on green chemistry. Could you please tell a little bit more? What exact materials are those? Maybe it's some kind of Scopus articles, or it's really great free materials?
Thank you again for that question. Yes, the platform has a number of materials. Ashley, I think, outlined just a few of them that we had time for. One of the main ones I want to draw your attention to is the resource for accessing the scope of papers and publications in green chemistry. And this is a service that we have contracted, we have paid for, and is available for free. So it's not able to access full text, but it's able to access the broad universe of papers which we have curated to reflect green chemistry. And so please try out this. So if you go to tools and publications, you can find the search, and this is a great free resource. In addition, we have calculators that are used by industry and were developed by industry to help develop greener processes. So please take a look at the tools and calculators. They're all, again, free, and they have tutorials for learning how to use them. And in addition, we have resources for just developing the skill sets we need to use these. And one of these is called the GC Help. It's available under the Learning and Professional Development tab. It's a really wonderful free resource for learning about life cycle analysis, green chemistry tools and metrics, use of renewable resources, selecting greener solvents, all of the aspects that are critical to developing more sustainable processes. So as you explore it, please give us feedback as well. Contact us, and we would love to be able to develop targeted resources that meet needs of our colleagues and collaborators abroad.
Thank you for questions and answers. What about other colleagues? Do you have any questions? Let me see. I see that we do have no questions in the chat. So then I hope that you're still working on your questions, and please write them in the chat specifically, and also mention who would you like to ask this question to, or you can wait for the Q&A session for the discussion till the end of our today's event, and you'll be able to do it as well. But now I think that we do not need to waste our time, and without further ado, we will listen to the National Program of Green Chemistry in Austria, Vision, Activity and Case from Business. Thomas Jakel will tell us about this, the Deputy of CEO of Directorate on Environment Protection and Circular Economy, Federal Minister of Austria on Climate, Environment, Energetics, Mobility, Innovation and Technologies. Thomas, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. That's great to know. So the whole action started with our vision that we want to highlight that, of course, chemicals in our environment media are causing a problem. We see also in human biomonitoring increasing level of several chemicals, and the green chemistry focus is to shed light on those options and those opportunities where we say innovation in chemicals development should have a drive towards sustainability. And the green and sustainable chemistry focus is meant to demonstrate that while chemicals are causing problems on the one hand, they are at the same time a part of the solution if we go towards a transformation in the direction of carbon reduced.
Так, прошу. Наші перекладачі повідомляють, що не чутно вас. Пан Томас, ми вас не чуємо.
Is it now working again?
Так, зараз чутно. Дякую.
Is it now working again?
Так, все чудово. Дякую. Продовжуйте, будь ласка.
Okay, thank you. So more or less the launch event was during the third presidency Austria was holding in the Council of the European Union. Each presidency, we tried to bring chemicals policy on the political agenda. The first two presidencies were of course dedicated to establish the REACH system, but the last one we dedicated to the interface between science and chemicals policy, with a specific focus on green chemistry, of course. And while doing so, we had the important players at the European international level here in Vienna, the International Sustainable Chemistry Collaborative Council from Germany, the Environment Agency, and UNIDO, which was easy because UNIDO is based here in Vienna. And what came out of this conference, do have problems to deliver. Now, is our vision how chemicals policy can influence the various branches of environment policy. And there are mainly three elements or three sectors of chemicals and environment policy where green chemistry can play a crucial role. One is the circular economy aspect. Chemicals can contribute to circular solutions, and they should themselves be designed in a way that they enable to be circular and be used always, ever and ever again. When it comes to sustainability, there are several tendencies, not only on the regulatory arena, but in the innovation sector as well, focusing on sustainable products policy, safe and sustainable by design and eco-design. And all these elements have the potential to embrace chemicals policy and green chemistry as one of the leading elements in this sector. And last but not least, it is our aim to widen the set of criteria within classical chemicals policy and to extend the indicators from classical toxicological one to more sustainable ones, so that a future chemicals policy would judge chemicals not only as to their toxicity and degradability, but also according to the principles of green chemistry. This is our political goal, that a future chemicals policy will also embrace the classical principles and think about, is this chemical produced by green design? Is it based on renewable resources? What about the design process of the chemicals? And when we come to the application area, is this chemicals fit for being applied in a safe and controlled manner? And of course, the classical elements of hazard criteria will remain and will keep their importance also within green and chemistry. But in a nutshell, we want to extend the horizon of chemicals policy to the principles of green chemistry. In our national platform, which is a stakeholder forum, and we are integrating company representatives from the stakeholder community, from the civil society, from the scientific side, and of course, policymakers. And this platform gave itself a working program, and within this working program, we came to a working definition of green chemistry, which is fit for our purposes. We put a lot of emphasis in building up a master program. I'll come to that in a second, which is a cooperation of 3 universities. We also wanted to design a training program which will be in future a Master of Business Administration, which is fit for training on the job, which is tailored for experts already practicing green chemistry or chemistry in a wider range, in order to train them also in green chemistry disciplines. Of course, we want to put our efforts always in the context of the international developments, like the great activities we heard from our American colleagues from Yale, from the Sustainable Chemical Institute, but also from Lowell, the group of Joel Ticknant and Molly Jacobs also have a great standing in green and sustainable chemistry, and we are always putting our activities into the context with ongoing international tendencies. And of course, we want to focus not only on academic level, but also make green chemistry an element in high school education. And of course, like our American colleagues, we built up a website compiling all the elements and all the tendencies we want to display. This is showing our master program, Master of Sustainable Chemistry, which is run by three Viennese universities. The Technical University, which brings in its competence in technology, process design, synthesis design. The University for Life Sciences, which is building the bridge to the bioeconomy area, and the Classical University of Vienna with its long-rooted chemical competences. I would like to give you an impression what the companies which are part of our platform are doing, what is their competence and what is their approach towards green chemistry. And here are a couple of examples. Lenzing is a world market leader in producing cellulose fibers, and around this they are applying uh, a broad spectrum of technologies and innovations around this fiber technologies. They are also building up a cellulose recycling system and various smart technology assets to design their processes in a more sustainable manner, optimizing their resource use, both in terms of material as well as energetic resources. The next company, Ecolite, is focusing on vanillin synthesis from bio-based raw materials, and they are using it not only in the classical areas, but also in green energy technology. So a nice example how green chemistry can also contribute to the transformation of the energy system. Archeon itself, the next company, is sort of making use of captured carbon and is integrating this into nutrients. So they are following a technology of producing protein compounds from atmospheric CO2, a very promising technology. Our Vienna Textile Lab is an example which has expertise in producing bio-based dyes from bacteria resources, and they also take, of course, care of the subsequent processes in dyeing, also focusing on maximizing resource efficiency while at the same time maintaining an optimum level of being environmentally benign, also in terms of toxicology. And last but not least, Lignovations is focusing of making use of this huge material stream of lignin, which is hard to find a way into the chemicals products arena. So they are trying out a couple of methodologies to making use of this important material stream. We see also the application stage as one which is relevant for the green chemistry area. And so also the way chemicals are applied and in which business model they are used is relevant for our world and our thinking. And you might have come across the chemical leasing approach, which is a service-based business model. So chemical companies don't sell products anymore, but they sell the performance of the product. They sell areas, cleaned areas, or they are being paid per working hour of the chemicals or by cubic meter cleaned water. And by doing so, by being paid by the performance of chemicals, it is becoming also their economic goal to use the chemicals as efficient as possible. So because they manage to get the cubic meter of water clean with less chemicals, it is becoming their economic profit if the chemicals are used in an eco-efficient manner. And during the last 20 years, we have developed together with our friends in UNIDO and beyond these chemical leasing business models, and we are currently launching the 4th global award, which will be performed in 4 categories, and we have an international jury on that. I put the address of the website. The award period is still up and running until the end of the years. And please mark in your calendar the 13th of March, where we have the big awards ceremony back to the GEF and UNIDO project Lars was just mentioning at the outside. So this will be a great opportunity to hopefully see each of you here. And last but not least, I would just like to present the link of a movie here, which tries to get the message of green chemistry across in a very, very compact and focused manner. So this was the impressions I wanted to share with you on our green chemistry activities in Austria. Thanks very much indeed for your attention.
Yes, thank you, Thomas. And now we will find out about alternative to green chemistry in practice from Oleksandr Khokhotva, expert on chemical management to the Center of Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center. Oleksandr, please, the floor is yours. Hello, dear participants of our webinar of this event. I wanted to tell you what alternatives do we have right now to substitute not only POPs but other hazardous substances. So we'll start first of all, what is persistent organic pollutants, how they are regulated by Stockholm Convention, and then we will try to view what are examples of implementing some other hazardous substances that are being used in different areas of industry right now, how they are substituted within approaches of green chemistry, and what other variants are there. These chemicals, the substances that I have selected here as an example, they are widely used in polymers and in different coverages and coatings. It's polymer coatings, and you can see those industries widely in Ukraine. So POPs, persistent organic pollutants, this is a pretty big class of such pollutants which are not degradable in photolytic biological chemical processes. They can be accumulated in a decade without any kind of degradation. So they are they're called eternal pollutants. Some of them are volatile, so they can migrate from water and air to big distances and create a toxic action for environment and people, even far from the place of its production, usage, and actually emission. These products are toxic in small concentrations, in even the smallest concentrations that can be measured by nanograms, even per liter or kilogram. And Stockholm Convention on POPs came into force in 2004. As of now, this convention has been ratified by 190 countries, Ukraine in particular, and a side of conventions committed to preventing development of new POPs and encourage implementation of better technologies and best ecological practices to substitute and to eliminate existing POPs from the market. As of now, to Stockholm Convention, we have also Annex A. There are 34 substances there that are prohibited to be used and produced. In green color, we have here those chemicals that have been used as pesticides. Red color, these are industrial chemicals, and some of them might be used in industry and as pesticides as well. And one of the aims of Stockholm Convention is not just prohibition of certain range of substances, but also implementation of safer equivalents and alternatives. And for certain chemicals, we also have pretty easy alternatives, but for other variants, it might require additional efforts. If to talk about the plastic production of plastics, more than 13,000 chemical substances connected with it. For some of them, toxicological components are not widely developed, but 3,200 of them might be potentially dangerous for people. Toxic chemicals were found in different plastics, in toys, in children products, in wrapping materials, in particular those which are contacting with food, in synthetic and textile materials, furnitures, various construction materials. So list is pretty big. And specifically to talk about polymer materials, from this list, 34 POPs. In Annex A, we have 14. So half of them, basically, these substances are being used as plasticizers, flame retardants, and other additives to improve traits of polymer. It's the different UV stabilizers, and these products are being used on various types of plastics. For instance, ABS plastics, lots of chemicals used for production of in paints and coatings industry, and in other other fluorinated polymers. This list of chemicals that are in the Annex A, this list reviewed constantly. In particular, last year in May, this list got 2 new substances. It's UV 328 and Decloran Plus. This UV 328, it's a UV stabilizer. It was produced in really huge quantities and was used in hygiene materials and in different accessories for hair. It's also present in toys for children. And the second one that was also already added to Stockholm Convention is Decloran Plus, extremely dangerous and non-biodegradable additives. It was developed as a substitute to antipyrents, but it's not successful, and antipyrents in this Decloran Plus ended up among those substances that are prohibited for usage. What is interesting, Decloran Plus, from all volume consumed in the world, around 90% is consumed in is used in automotive industry. And here in the slide, you see actually those 14 substances from Annex A that are used in plastic production and that are regulated by Stockholm Convention. All of them, apart from UV 328, are halogenic substances, compounds, and majority of them were taken out from the production and usage 15-20 years ago, but certain substances, for instance, the cadron, the phenyl, and PFAS are still used in certain areas of production. That's why we will focus a little bit more on them later. So such ethers, they were used as antipyrents, as flame retardants, and mostly they were used in different construction materials. Among all such diphenyl ethers, the As of now, we have only decabron diphenyl ester. It has 10 atoms of brom. All the others are already eliminated from the usage. They are very often in frames of TV sets, strange as it may sound. In textile industry, it is used for furnitures, in curtains, can be used for carpets, curtains, as I have already mentioned, and mattresses. So furniture, so basically really people have contact with such materials that might consist as a hazardous material. Decabron ethynyl esters really can violate the system of the person's nervous system work and has cancerogenic traits. But flame retardants still take a huge part of consuming conditional chemicals in production of plastics if we do not take into account dyes and pigments. It's around 30% of all additions to plastic. Usage of those flame retardants is not only because they have high resistance of their final product, but we also have we have new requirements to fire safety. Those fire retardants, we have around 1,000 products, full-fledged products. And if you look at this diagram, then you can see that here we have halogenated fire retardants and non-halogenated flame retardants as mineral substances. If to look in time how share of flame retardants changed, then we'll see that that hydroxide is growing at the same time. Halogenated flame retardants decrease. Without non-halogenated solutions maybe are not so fire resistant, but they have huge benefits if to talk ecologically wise, and their consuming is growing by 3% every year at least. And it's also proved by the fact that for the last 35 years, the number of registered patents for non-halogenated flame retardants increased by 15%. And approximately, and it lets decrease consumption of halogenated flame retardants that are prohibited, even though widely used. The part of phosphor organic flame retardants is around 18%, and if to talk about the price, it's around 23%. There are lots of them already developed. Some of them are recommended within Stockholm Convention. The phosphor organic flame retardants consumption is growing the fastest, and it's because of their fire resistant properties and their perfect chemical characteristics. Here on the slide, we see certain representatives of commercially available products that are being produced in large scales, and it is not only laboratory developments, it's commercially available products that can be used instead of flame retardants. Here we'll move to the next group of hazardous materials that are being used not only in polymer materials, it's of phthalates. Phthalates actually, these orthophthalates, they are widely used in industry, in plastics to get flexible elastic material. Apart from, if to talk about all phthalate plasticizers, mostly they're used in chloride and others. It's resin, dyes, and all in all, as of now, phthalate production is evaluated more than 2,000 tons of phthalates every year. Phthalates also consist in toys, wrappings, carpets, cars, plastic windows. If to use phthalates in proper quantities, then basically they do not have any hazardous effect, but they might accumulate in the body of people and very negatively impact hormonal system. in the list of, in some cases, it can even lead to infertility. That's why phthalates, some phthalates, short-chain phthalates are prohibited and being used in toys production in European countries and USA. And also some range of phthalates is still at the stage of research of their properties, and they are partly prohibited until final results are achieved. That's why, taking into account toxical properties of phthalates, right now non-phthalate plasticizers are being developed, and more they're used in the production of products, in particular those products that have constant contact with consumers, so the toys, for example, as I have already mentioned, or floor coverages. Also, companies First Torp created a new non-phthalate plasticizer that, according to its characteristic, can be compared with phthalate plasticizers. This plasticizer, Pavalan, is not volatile, so accordingly it migrates really bad, practically does not migrate. It has range of unique properties. It has but resistance to UV radiation, and it's very economic in its usage. So it's consuming, if to compare with phthalates, is 20% smaller. Also, the company Eastman developed their own innovative product, and its peculiarity is that it also does not include phthalates. Here in this diagram on the right, you can compare structural formula, as I have already mentioned, of phthalate, orthophthalate. So Eastman development is not a classic phthalate, so it's like non-phthalate plasticizer. The product Eastman 168 has amazing properties from the point of view of its usage. It can be great substitution of phthalate plasticizers. On the market, it has been present for more than 40 years already, and that's how it demonstrates its perfect exploitation properties and its safety and ecological manner in usage. It's much safer than orthophthalate plasticizers, and share of this plasticizer on the market, in particular Europe, is growing constantly because there are high requirements concerning the safety of polymer productions, and even certain lines that give ecological certificates, they do not review products with plasticizers. So it's impossible to get eco-sign. One more group of chemicals that we are going to view today are polyphtalated hydrates, and these are such compounds that are in Annex A of Stockholm Convention, and here such PFAS, they are pretty dangerous, and it's difficult to eliminate them because they are used in a wide spectrum of products. They have a huge value in economy and used in the production of lots of products. PFAS have been developed for more than 80 years already, but for the longer period of time, no one paid attention to its consequence. There are lots of research that prove that PFAS increase risks of cancer diseases and can also lead to hormonal problems, reproductive function decreasing, and functionality of immune system is getting worse as well. One of the areas where PFAS are used is a technology of different coverages, and they are used to cover metal surfaces, to cover wood surfaces. These substances can improve protection function, so they preserve color. They have protection from UV. They are more resistant to atmospheric influences, and for instance, they can make the product shiny or vice versa, matte. And PFAS also improve the process of covering the product with the paint. There can be powdered compounds that are used in metals. And basically they have lots of functions. And since our task is to eliminate proliferated substances, so these functions should be done by other chemicals. And right now, we have already developed lots of substances, proliferated substances for these or that functions in coverages. Apart from that, proliferated compounds are famous by their thermal resistance. So they are fire resistant, and that's extremely important property, especially if we're talking about coverings for cables. And also such coverages are very attractive when they need to be present in the temperature of more than 260 degrees Celsius. But if product is exploited with lower temperatures, and we have already much more attractive alternatives on epoxide basis, and they also can withstand high temperatures. Powdered coverages for industrial use can contact with aggressive chemical substances, so they have to be resistant for working in such environments. And here great substitution is epoxy coverages, and they are chemically resistant, and they also have corrosion protection. Also, we have here cross-linked polyolefins. They are alternatives for protection from corrosion metal surfaces. PFAS are less can have less influence of humid or acid rains, and this property is very important for paints and coatings that are used in architecture. PFAS are resistant to aggressive UV radiation influence, and PFAS dyes can also preserve their shine and color. There are also alternatives without the PFAS. They are already being used in construction sphere. They are produced like powder coatings or dyes. It's, for instance, production on the basis of the bases that have nano oxide of aluminium, and it's also polyester and epoxide coatings. Proliferated substances being added to dyes to improve their grease resistance properties, and they're resistant to spots, and also they're used in germatics, and the substitution for them are paraffins and silicones that are used in germatics as well, where we have water resistant properties. And we also have hybrid materials here, for instance, tracks, and they also have a high level of secondary raw material. Important here is that they can have they are smooth, they have smooth coating, and PFAS help with it because they are such special substances for this. Alternatives are different coatings with silicone. It's different CICIBs, epoxy sealants. Here you have this as ICIB. It's here in the brackets. It produces a range of such polymers, epoxy sealants, for various reasons, for various purposes in production. Apart from that, we also have sulfosuccinate. They are used in wood industry. The company Dow Chemical used main principles of green chemistry, and now they have such coating that is based on polyolefin dispersion with polyolefin resins. This is technology that has good adhesion, protection from corrosion. It is not hazardous to properties of products, so it can be used for protection of metal surfaces that might contact with food. So that's why toxicological properties are amazing here. The taste is not getting worse, and this technology, the substance is available not only commercially, but also it has been approved in by normative requirements of the European Union and in the USA. That's how we have viewed a range of examples that might be relevant for enterprises, producers in Ukraine. And if your enterprise is ready to implement innovations, if such substances can be, if you use some substances that can be considered as POPs, as additional substances in the process of technological production, or maybe they are also used as an end product, then we also invite you to take part in this project. So if you want to join this project, please use the link in Google form. Within working with enterprises, we will look for alternatives. We will conduct analysis of potential economical, ecological, and social advantages of producing green alternative. And those enterprises that will take part in this program will get range of benefits. In particular, participants of the program will have the opportunity to work with various scientists in the whole world, and they will be able to implement ecologically green substances. They will be able to get consultations in the development of their products. Participation of enterprise in this project will help strengthen their position on the market and widen sales markets to improve economic profile of the enterprise, improve ecological safety of the product, and competition and competitiveness will increase as well. So we will also calculate implementation of such project, including development and different financing involvement. And last but not least, advantage for enterprise, as it has been mentioned by the previous speakers today, in Ukraine, new laws are being developed in ecological laws that limit or prohibit such products on the market that have hazardous chemicals. So if you want to take part in this project, you can have all these benefits. If you're interested in this, but you're not sure whether your enterprise can take part, then please contact with us. We will analyze your situation, and maybe we can offer you some variants how your enterprise can take part in this program. Thank you for attention. Thank you, Oleksandr. And I would like to emphasize, dear participants, that after this event, we will send all presentations of the speakers and the links to recordings of our today's event. So please don't worry, do not try to take notes right now, and because organizers get notifications about that. Also, thank you for being active, because I see that we have questions in the chat, and we actually have one more speaker before we start our Q&A session, and we will answer all your questions. We will read all of them out. Thank you for being active. And now we have the opportunity to meet the company from representative from our company, Mahlet Garedew, Manager of Innovation Programs, our company USA. Mahlet, could you please share your experience and your impression? How did the company manage to do that, to achieve this? Thank you.
Started. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be telling you a little bit about Air Company, what we do, how we're implementing a lot of, green chemistry methodologies, and developing our technology that converts carbon dioxide into various products. We're really excited to be part of this initiative and, tell you a little bit about what we're doing. So I think I have to kind of just always have this first slide, an obligatory slide on CO2 being a problem. I think everybody knows CO2 is a problem. Currently, CO2 levels in the atmosphere at their highest in 23 million years. I think this is the number that's floating out there. But in any case, this is an issue that needs to be mitigated, and everybody's finding different ways to mitigate this issue, to decrease our emissions, to convert CO2 into different things. As a company, Air Company has developed and successfully deployed patented technology. It's a power to liquids technology that converts captured carbon dioxide into fuels and carbon negative chemicals. So I'll talk a little bit about what power to liquids means. Our process is essentially a process that mimics photosynthesis. So in photosynthesis, you have sunlight, CO2, water. Plants convert that into sugars and oxygen using sunlight as the source of energy. So in our process, we're essentially doing the same thing. And that is kind of translates into this technology known as power to liquids. So basically, we take CO2 as our feed, water on the other side. We use renewable electricity to split the water to provide the hydrogen that's needed to convert the CO2 into various products, mostly hydrocarbons, paraffins, methanol, ethanol, all sorts of different products. But this has the potential to convert CO2 into other products. As we know, the petroleum industry kind of has used crude oil as a source of all sorts of different things, from fuels to chemicals to plastics. This technology has a similar kind of like potential to produce all sorts of different products from CO2. So a little bit about kind of Air Company's process. So like I mentioned, we convert CO2 into different products. Today, I'll walk you through a little bit about the feedstock. So what's kind of special about the feedstock and what are we doing, the process itself. And so, our proprietary technology where we convert the CO2 into different products. And then third, I'll talk a little bit more about, the products, sustainable aviation fuels, methanol, ethanol, why we kind of focused on these three at the beginning, and what kind of the potentials are in terms of environmental impact and mitigation for, climate change. So first, I'll kind of dive deep into our feedstock. So our process relies on, sustainable and abundant feedstock. So we use CO2. The source for our CO2 for our process is biogenic CO2 at the moment, but our process is actually source agnostic. That means the process itself is not affected by the kind of the purity of the CO2 that we get. So in the past, we've actually deployed our process next to a power plant and actually taken the CO2 from a power plant and converted that into our product. Currently, we get our CO2 from biogenic sources, which means we try to co-locate or get our CO2 from facilities that are capturing the CO2 from biological processes, such as ethanol conversion. As you know, when we're converting, when you're doing fermentation, you're usually releasing about 1/3 of the CO2 into the atmosphere. So co-locating with such processes allows us to capture some of that biogenic CO2 and improves our kind of process economics and process carbon intensity as well. Our strategy is to partner directly with CO2 sources, industrial, suppliers for gas distribution. and kind of like the market availability for CO2 in the US, biogenic CO2 emissions are about 280 million tons of CO2 per year. So that would be, and kind of to put that into perspective, that would be able to produce about 29 billion gallons of sustainable aviation fuel, say, if we took all of that and converted it to CO2. The second ingredient in our feedstock in our process is hydrogen. So our hydrogen is, comes from, we use renewable electricity, or we use electrolysis to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. Our strategy is to work with established electrolyzer manufacturers to scale up this capability. We're currently partnering with Nel, PM, and we have their electrolyzers in our facilities in Brooklyn, New York. Again, we're kind of agnostic to the system and H2 production system. We'll work with, green hydrogen producers as much as possible in terms of like availability of the feedstock. So the hope is, I think a lot of where our challenges come from is in electrolysis. So hoping that, a lot of the improvement that we're seeing in electrolysis and the efficiencies of electrolysis is going to be, kind of helping us in the future. This is kind of like a big challenge in terms of deploying this technology, is where is the electricity going to come from? And also how efficient is the electrolysis process to convert, to convert your water into hydrogen and oxygen. The third it's not so much a feedstock, but it is an input into our process, is the electricity, of course. And so we work to source our electricity from, various renewable sources: solar, wind, hydro, nuclear, and geothermal. Currently, we work with, we basically buy RECs, which are renewable energy credits. In the future, our plant is going to be located or co-located with hydrothermal processing facilities, where we're going to be using hydropower to power our process. But currently, we buy credits basically for 98% wind and 2% solar is where our electricity is coming from. So in the future, we want to again partner with electricity suppliers to provide low cost electricity, abundant supply that we can find. And co-locating with these kind of facilities is going to be really important. And so that's kind of our feedstocks. I don't know if we're taking questions in between, but I can keep going. Next.
Так, продовжуйте.
Okay, I'll keep going. So the second piece of this is, kind of our process, and what are we doing differently in our process that is allowing us that is allowing us to be different from kind of legacy processes. So our process is, so the legacy process for CO2 conversion, or a lot of like biomass conversion, is that you have
на английский? Я думала, она уже...
Sorry, was there a question?
No, we have no questions. Please go on.
Okay, thank you. So our process, so this bottom part that you see here, the legacy process is Fischer-Tropsch. So it's a multi-step process where you have, hydrogen going in, or water going in, hydrogen is coming out, CO2 and hydrogen get combined, you make carbon monoxide. That carbon monoxide is then further converted to synthetic fuels. So what we're doing with our process, we're actually eliminating this kind of intermediate step, and we're feeding in, we're taking in hydrogen or water that's going, split into hydrogen and oxygen. That hydrogen is going into our process, and then CO2 is going into our process, and then our air-made fuel or products are coming out the other end. What this does is, one, it's a streamlined process, so you're essentially removing an entire step from the process. That's simplifying the process steps. In addition to that, you're also you can kind of improve your efficiency by 50%. Part of this comes from the CO2 conversion processes and exothermic reaction. So if we take that heat and integrate it downstream for separation processes, for distillation and things like that, we're able to actually improve our process efficiency by 50%. And then last but not least, this is also helping us kind of develop a proprietary technology, new technology that can be, applied across various processes. So this is kind of like an overview of our process where we're converting CO2 into different products. And what makes that process happen is our catalyst. And this is where a lot of our technology development takes place. We do a lot of catalyst development in-house. We make catalyst powders, which are then pressed and made into pellets for testing in our pilot plant. And then we also partner with industrial catalyst, third-party catalyst developers, then to scale up that proprietary catalyst so it can be used at larger scale. We do have a very strong IP portfolio for our air company catalysts. Although we develop the process itself, our catalysts are kind of like our bread and butter in terms of what's kind of like novel in this space. Kind of the benefits of our catalyst, I can't really talk a lot about. I'm sure you can understand from an IP perspective, I can't really talk about our catalysts in detail. But kind of overall, the benefit of our catalysts, we synthesize them from widely available non-precious metals. We use them, we synthesize them with no toxic materials present. And the biggest thing or the biggest benefit for our catalyst, like I said, it allows us to kind of skip this intermediate step that is that the legacy processes have. And then as part of that, we also have stability over time. So we have demonstrated our catalysts to be stable over like 10,000 hours so far at larger scale. But ideally, our catalysts will be robust for about 2 years period, where you could just continue to do your conversion, but the catalyst won't deactivate. And we have a lot of activation and control over what happens with our catalyst, and the yield structure for our catalyst and kind of selectivity allows us to utilize as much of the carbon as possible so that there's less waste, and the carbon selectivity is pretty high. So with that,
please go on.
Okay, sorry. With that, I'll move into our product. So air-made is kind of like our we make things from air, right? So air-made is our trademark for our product. So we have air-made sustainable aviation fuels, air-made methanol, and air-made ethanol. So why did we pick these three products, at least at this moment? This is based kind of on kind of the environmental impact of these, or in kind of environmental impact potential of these three products across kind of the global chemical and fuel supply chain. So this is based on a study that came out of Columbia University. So if all ethanol, methanol, and jet fuel were being produced from CO2, this is kind of the potential in terms of emissions reductions that we can get, a total of 10.8%, 1.3% from ethanol, 3.3% from methanol, and 6.1% from jet fuel. As you can see, jet fuel is kind of like the bigger impact that we can have. But again, methanol itself can be used for fuels, for marine fuels, for displacing marine diesel. Jet fuel, of course, displacing jet A fuels that we're using for commercial flights and other types of flights. And then ethanol is kind of like more either on the fuel side, so it can be used for alternative fuel. Here in the US, we do about 10% blending of ethanol with our fuels. But at the same time, because our ethanol that we produce is ultra high purity, partly because we don't do this fermentation, we're bringing the carbons and hydrogens together to make the ethanol, or CO2 and hydrogen together to make the ethanol. We don't actually have any impurities in our system other than other potential alcohols, which can be mitigated by distillation, but we don't have any fermentation broth or anything like that that can contaminate our ethanol. So our ethanols are ultra high purity based on some of the FDA specifications here in the US. So jet fuel. So that's our kind of biggest product that we're currently developing, working on scaling up. Even though ethanol was one of the first things that we made and we used for different products, like our air vodka, which was the first product that we kind of commercialized and sold. And then we also have perfume that we use the ethanol to make our perfumes. And during the pandemic, we've also produced ethanol to make hand sanitizer that we distributed in New York City for the different hospitals for, as part of our support to our community. But our current focus and kind of like laser focus is on the sustainable aviation fuel. And why is that? So aviation currently accounts for about 2% of the global CO2 emissions, and it's projected to grow to about 4.4% by 2050. And so that amounts to about an additional 1.9 gigatons of CO2 that's going to be emitted into the atmosphere. And in order to meet the 2050 goals in terms of decarbonization for transport, aviation, and all across, it's really important to mitigate that, and jet fuel is one of the ways that we can make an impact in that way. And so, again, the emissions are growing really fast, and then conventional jet fuel currently has kind of a carbon intensity of 89 grams of CO2 per megajoules. With our SAF and with other sustainable fuels, you can get less carbon intensity. So that's why we're kind of like targeting this sector. And in terms of market today, sustainable aviation fuels only account for about 0.1% of the global jet fuel production. I think this number is based on numbers from like last year. I think this year it's jumped up a little bit. Still, it's nowhere near where it needs to be in order to meet the current net zero targets for the transportation sector, as well as kind of like aviation itself. We need to be at around 65% of the supply chain by 2050. So that's a 1,500 times growth that needs to happen in terms of sustainable aviation fuel. So we want to be part of that, kind of decarbonization effort in terms of making fuels. And really the kind of the advantage is that we're mitigating the problem itself, right? We're taking the CO2 and we're directly converting it to fuel. So that's kind of like why we picked sustainable aviation fuels, and our process happens to make all the components that we need to make 100% drop-in SAF. So in terms of current and future kind of potential for all of these three products, so the air-made SAF one of the biggest benefits is that we can make 100% drop-in fuel. What do I mean by this? So aviation fuel or jet fuel has like 3-4 different components, depending on what you look at, how you look at it. Paraffins, isoparaffins, cycloparaffins, aromatics. In order for a synthetic or sustainable fuels to look like jet fuel, right? So you want it to look the same, you want it to perform the same, because it's a kind of a safety issue. You don't want planes kind of like dropping out of the sky because you didn't have the right fuel. And so your jet fuel or synthetic fuel needs to look and smell and whatever, like does exactly what the current jet fuel does. And that's why we kind of need that 100% drop-in fuel. And so the idea is for us to formulate that fuel specifically to look like jet fuel, to have all the different components and to make all those different components from CO2. We have achieved that. I'll talk a little bit about it in the next slide. We've actually made fuel that looks like Jet A. And so 100% drop-in fuel is really important because currently a lot of what we see in sustainable aviation fuel is that we are allowed to blend in about up to 50% with conventional fuel. That is really great, and it's helping a lot with mitigating environmental impacts. But down the line, when we're trying to apply sustainable aviation fuel across the supply chain at a larger scale, that becomes a challenge because now you have to think about, okay, what does this new sustainable fuel look like? How is it going to blend properly with the conventional fuel? And how are we going to get that right properties and right composition? And so the supply chain and kind of like this blending challenge becomes an issue. And blending facilities themselves can cost quite a bit of money just to make sure we're doing the right blending. So the solution to that and to make the maximum impact with sustainable aviation fuel is to make sure that 100% drop-in fuel is produced. And in the supply chain, there's no differentiation in terms of properties and composition of the fuel. And so that's our target. Our target is to make 100% drop-in fuel from CO2. If we do that and, we look at the kind of the potential for GHG emission reduction, that amounts to about 97%, and that's conservatively. So our process has that ability to mitigate about 97% of give 97% emission reduction. The other thing is in terms of process efficiency and improvement, I talked about it a little bit earlier. With heat integration at larger scale, we're able to, allow for about 50% improvement in efficiency. Again, the feedstock CO2, it's unlimited, it's ubiquitous, it's all around. You just need to be able to, get that CO2 into our system. For methanol, again, that this can be used in chemical production, but also making all sorts of small molecules, but at the same time, it can be used for making plastics. And right now, methanol is being kind of presented as an alternative for marine diesel. So as a fuel itself, it's a cleaner fuel that can be integrated into, for shipping and marine applications. If it has the potential to avoid about 4% in GHG emissions. It's a 99% cleaner fuel. It's kind of one of the easier molecules to make in our process, and then it can have a lot of impacts in terms of if it's being used for chemicals. It can have high impacts. And then am I short on time? I'm almost done. And then our ethanol, of course, because it's not, it doesn't come from processing plants. And so there's a lot of land use that's going to be avoided by making ethanol from CO2. And so that also has quite a lot of impact in terms of water consumption and what kind of chemicals you're able to make. Really quickly, so about our company, we were founded in 2017. We are headquartered in New York. We have multiple products. As you can see, we don't see just our 3 products as products, but our catalysts, our reactors, and it's also a modular system that can be moved from place to place if needed. So we also kind of develop technology, and we consider ourselves our technology licensor as well. Our pilot plant was operational in 2019 and produced ethanol first. Our demonstration plant was operational in 21 and has clocked over 10,000 hours of operation with about 8,000 hours continuous operation using the same catalyst. And we established a contract with the Department of Defense and NASA, over $65 million in revenue. And Air Force has actually conducted a flight test using an unmanned drone using our 100% drop-in jet fuel as well. Really, the benefits of our technology is 100% drop-in sustainable aviation fuel, low cost. We talked about efficiency a little bit. Our design has been proven. Modularity, that means we can kind of like take this system and drop it into the middle of New York City. And we've actually been able to make fuel in New York City, which is, like for a lot of biomass conversion and other conversion plants, you kind of have to be located in certain places, but we have this ability to locate it wherever because CO2 is available wherever. And then, idea of zero carbon, and also being able to make all sorts of other products, not just ethanol, methanol, but other products that can be derived from CO2. With that, I'll end. I hope I didn't take up too much time, but I'll take any questions if there are.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mahlet. I hope you have inspired our participants to new achievements and victories. And now we are moving on to questions from our members. So please stay with us for a chance to hear and answer them. And we will immediately start with the short questions for you. Ms. Mahlet, I see that our participants were inspired by the quality of your presentations. So we have questions from Svetlana Sitnik. Please tell us in which programs this presentation was created.
Program. We have. Thank you. I will not take credit for this presentation. This is actually the work of our marketing team. They do a really good job of putting this together. I am not sure what program they used, but they do that kind of the design. I can ask and get back to you.
Let me move into Ukrainian here. So right now is time to hear questions and answers from our participants. I see that we already have them in the chat. Thank you for using this tool. And we'll start. I see that we are a little bit outside of our timeline. I hope that we'll be able to ask some questions, but right after our last speaker, we will get to Q&A session and discussion, and there all the other questions we will ask. So I would not like to take more time. So from Andrii to Thomas, question. There are 2 questions. They are from different spheres. You have mentioned 3 universities in Vienna cooperating to create master's program on sustainable chemistry. Why 3? Several of them do not have capacity because for Ukraine, it's more typical when curriculum is developed by 1 university and not 3 of them. And another question, how structurally organize the work in green chemistry in your ministry? Please, Thomas.
Thanks for this question. These the creation of the master program and how it is shaped has political backgrounds from 2 sources. So the Ministry of Scientific Affairs and Education appreciates that universities work interdisciplinary and create master and PhD programs where the expertise from various universities is combined. And they found green chemistry as an excellent example for that, combine bioeconomic approaches, technological approaches, and classical chemical science approaches. this is where these three universities also received the appropriate funding from the Ministry of Education and Science. And there was another condition from that ministry addressed to our ministry that they say, if the Ministry for Science and Education allocates the appropriate resources for this master thesis program, for this master program, our ministry should care for financing the appropriate subsequent PhD program. And so I approached my general directorate for research to say, can't we manage to establish a PhD course building upon the master thesis? It just took me some times and negotiations, but at the end of the time, our research unit also saw the merit in this. So we have now 9 PhDs running, which are co-funded from our ministry, and this is the background for the structure of those of this master program. And within my ministry, we are the hub for the platform. We are convening it, and we have the help from our agency. There is an environment agency in Austria with about 600 experts, and they have quite a large chemicals unit also dealing with biocides, and they created a green chemistry expert group, and together with them we are running this program.
Thank you. Thank you for answering our question. And Oleg Kartavtsev, Viktoriia Bondarenko, and Olga Tsegulova. Please, now let's listen to the last speech, and then after that, our speakers will be able to provide answers to your other questions. So now let's move to our last speech for today to find out about the program of accelerating program for promoting green chemistry. And Onyeka Obiocha will familiarize with that, the director of Accelerator program, Center for Green Chemistry and Green Engineering at Yale. Onyeka, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here. Really interesting day of conversations. And I'm excited. I know the last person who just answered a question talked a little bit about interdisciplinary teams putting work together to create a business, much like Air Company that we heard about, it sounds like a fantastic enterprise, and I'm excited to learn more. Also want to give a lot of celebration and appreciation to the translators. A lot of this, as a non-scientist, a lot of this language I don't even know in English, so to translate it in the way that they have is really impressive. Okay, I'm gonna go and hop in here. So, my role, I'm the Accelerator Program Director for the Global GreenChem Innovation Network Program. And a lot of what I'm here to do is to really help establish and build out entrepreneurial ecosystem across the organizations and locations that we're working in. So, as you all know, probably a lot better than me, the little introduction to green chemistry. The definition of green chemistry focuses on designing products and processes that minimize or eliminate the use and generation of hazardous substances. You have the global importance, mitigates environmental damage, enhances sustainability across industries, and critical for achieving global climate and sustainability goals. From a process and innovation entrepreneurship standpoint, some current challenges are the innovation barriers, high cost for R&D, research and development for startups and small businesses doing this work, a lack of access to specialized equipment, laboratories, and expertise, regulatory hurdles, and uncertainty in the adoption of green technologies. And kind of leaning into that adoption part, when you think about the market adoption, slower commercialization of sustainable products, and green chemistry solutions struggle to compete with traditional cost-effective alternatives. And just for sake of clarity, oftentimes when we use this word cost, we're only talking about the financial cost. I think one thing that our markets don't do well is truly compute and have a clear understanding of the total cost that our traditional, what I would call non-green products are facing. So whether it's the economic costs, obviously the environmental costs, the societal costs, and things of that nature. The bottom right-hand corner from the slide, you can see that the green chemical market is expected to achieve a US dollar valuation of about $274.2 billion by 2032. So it's a rapidly growing market with a lot of opportunity ahead. So what's the impact on green chemistry innovation? So what we're hoping for is the acceleration of R&D, right? So how do we have faster prototyping and testing and rapid identification and scalability and marketability of these products? And then a collaborative ecosystem, the creation of partnerships with academic institutions, research centers, established corporations, and shared access to cutting edge technology and sustainable practices. I think it's important to note that in order for us to develop this type of acceleration and collaboration that we want to see, it's incumbent upon us to work together. You know, the old African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, move together. And I think there's an amazing opportunity to the resources of all you here on the call and the type of work that the GreenChem team is trying to launch and pursue and continue is how do we accelerate and provide opportunities for these collaborations at scale. So why accelerator programs? Well, what we aim to do is kind of bridge the gap. The way I think about it in shorthand is to bridge the gap between ideation and implementation. So the moment you have an idea to the moment that idea is implemented and put into commercial use, how do we decrease the time that it takes for this to occur? And there's some ways where I think about de-risking that. Mentorship and guidance, expert advice in things like business strategy, chemistry, sustainability, and product development. Funding and resources, right? Funding, access to grants, venture capital, even private equity, specialized equipment. Networking, again, that collaboration side of it, connecting with industry leaders, investors, potential partners, and then regulatory support, helping to navigate compliance and regulatory pathways. Again, as I think about, and the rest of the GreenChem team that I'm working with, Lars and Matt and other folks, as we look at thinking about this accelerator program, we're really trying to embed these four elements in a way that we're not putting it forth just for the sake of it, but really having an understanding of what are the entrepreneurs, the innovators, the system thinkers, the academics, the industry professionals, what are the needs that we're trying to address, and how do we create a systematic approach to step-by-step meet those needs in a way that's enjoyable, highly educational, and highly effective. And then talking about policy too, it's really important to understand the role of accelerators to potentially shape policy and just have those conversations around how to do this at a high level. So, you know, with green chemistry accelerators, we often collaborate with governments to influence environmental regulations, thinking about how do we put in place even conversations, if not incentives, to adopt and advocate for the adoption of green chemistries across industries, right? And it's not only just, I would say, hard policy changes, but just the education and the advocacy of it can go a long way, again, at scale. It's no small feat to have, 60, 70, 80 people on this call here who are learning and already engaged and now have the opportunity to get further education. I mean, that has a huge effect at scale, and that's the scale that we're trying to get to. So, and then the impact and the economic and environmental impact. So again, as I said previously, when we talk about costs, a lot of it is financial, which there is a lot of, not only thinking about the opportunities for the businesses and entrepreneurs and their entrepreneurial ecosystems to thrive financially, but even more importantly, I would say the job creation, right? Because the accelerators, through the help of supporting, scaling, these green chemistry innovations can help to really stimulate job growth in green technology and the green chemistry sectors. And obviously, the environmental benefits and the reduction in carbon emissions, water pollution, hazardous waste, and then the efficiency, right, in raw material use and waste management. As we know, these raw materials on this planet are very finite, so the more efficient we can be at scale using market forces to get there, which I think one of the most powerful actors in the world are market forces, then we can really reimagine how we do this work at a high level. So let me tell you a little about the accelerator that we have here. So we aim to do 8 things: implement impactful curriculum, right? Thinking about inclusive and gender sensitivity accelerator curriculum, focusing on alternative green solvents, bio-based chemicals, circular economy, and so on. Support startups in business development. Again, a lot of people know a lot about green chemistry. And a lot of people know a lot about startups and business development. It's usually not the same person. So how do we do our job as the folks who are holding space and creating this accelerator to be able to combine what I would say technical know-how of green chemistry with the business know-how of startups, to marry those two to create a sustainable long-term business? Recruit high quality mentors and judges, again, thinking about the collaboration. How do we get more and more people in and excited about the work that these entrepreneurs are doing, and again, help them de-risk their product, essentially help them be able to know what issues may come down the road that only experience can teach. And then you have high quality experienced mentors and judges to help facilitate that knowledge and get to the implementation side faster. Conduit for innovation challenges. I particularly like this one. Really, what are the opportunities? Again, thinking about the collaboration and ecosystem, what are the opportunities for local industrial partners and the public to engage in these hackathons, to engage in the innovation challenges, encouraging green chemistry teams to devise solutions recognized by industrial challenges. So really understanding what market needs are, and being fearless in creating solutions, or at least creating ways to really interact with the issues at hand. Connect winners with resources. Again, something we think a lot about is, once you're finished with this acceleration program, how do you continue to get the resources, whether it's the education, the access to mentors, the access to funding that you need post-accelerator process. Showcase and foster solutions, really being able to tell the world the incredible work that these entrepreneurs are going through and have launched this program. Ensuring long-term sustainability, making sure that the businesses are long-term sustainable. I think in the United States, 80% of businesses fail within the first 3 years. So what are we doing to make sure that more businesses over a longer period of time can get to the 5, 10, 15, 20 year mark as they continue to innovate and as they continue to meet the needs of the market? And then, last but certainly not least, address local needs. I mean, obviously there's a local context in all the regions that this work is being done in, and be able to understand, and again, careful consideration of the energy, resource depletion, water use, hazard reduction that's unique to each area, and whether it's through the innovation challenges, whether it's through the curriculum itself, whether it's through the recruitment of the mentors and judges, what are we doing to really support local needs on the ground? And then the key actors in startup community. Again, as I think about this ecosystem, we talk about this ecosystem, and it's important to know what organizations are here and what organizations do we see as startup community. So obviously the entrepreneurs, you cannot do this work without very talented, very driven entrepreneurs. Investors, in order for these businesses and these entrepreneurs to get next level, they need financial capital. Mentors and judges, in order these entrepreneurs, and in order for these investors that invested in said entrepreneurs to get to the next level, they need mentors and judges with a lot of experience and the passion to help this ecosystem thrive. Support organizations like incubators, like accelerators, like the resources, training, and mentorship, all in these organizations who supply it across the ecosystem. The universities, really understanding academia plays such a strong role for fostering innovation, for helping to support and supply talent, and then ultimately, obviously, research and development. I think, especially with green chemistry, it's important to know that a lot of the innovation that comes to fruition, I mean, Air Company that we just heard from, I mean, that was based on research at Yale University. And I think when you have these highly technical businesses, and green chemistry in of itself is technical, I think universities are the go-to place to identify and then support the type of research that can turn into thriving businesses. And as we said before, government and policy, helping through education, tax incentives, funding programs, regulation, just again, making sure that there's a fertile ground for these businesses to grow, and then corporations, whether it's partnerships, acquisitions, investment, expertise, market access, there's so many ways that the private sector can get involved in doing this work at a high level. I think that can go a long way as well. And then key factors in the startup community, when we're thinking about this work outside just the individual actors, what are some of the factors that can allow these organizations and these entrepreneurs to be successful? So network density, how close you are to each other, whether it's going to your local coffee shop or it's a Zoom call, or any ways that folks can really come together to have and engage with each other. Talent pool, talk about universities having that skilled workforce of engineers, marketers, right? We talked about not only the research and ideation that goes into it, but who's actually making these presentations look this beautiful. When you think about the role of graphic design, when you think about the role of storytelling, that is all crucial in a thriving startup community talent pool in order to get the type of presentations that you've all seen today. Culture, how are we supporting each other? How are you putting other people in positions to succeed? How are you sharing information? Infrastructure, right? Whether it's the actual lab space, co-working space, office space, and then even the intellectual infrastructure, legal, accounting, marketing. I go with, that's the other side of talent. How do you actually have the physical and professional spaces and access to be able to launch your organization at a high level? And then events and networking. And, again, last but certainly not least, this work cannot be done alone. So the more opportunities you have for things like this, and I commend the Ukraine team for putting this together, any event and networking that can allow you to not only meet people and engage with them, but even just be inspired by the work that's being done, I think is extremely crucial. And then you have the elements of a supportive startup community, right? Embracing a gift first philosophy, encouraging community participation, aligning with local needs, fostering long-term relationships, and measuring community impact. All of those crucial when thinking about a supportive startup community. And I think all of those are things that we try to implement throughout our work in storytelling in the initial building. And then when you go into the actually accelerator phases, and please do not mind any of these dates, but we're thinking about the pre-accelerator phase, the accelerator phase, and the post-accelerator phase. We're really thinking about the strategic planning and framework design. A lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes before folks even have the opportunity to apply and then collectively be a part of the accelerator phase, right? And then you have the onboarding and orientation, the program curriculum itself, and then the mentorship and resource connection. Always looking at opportunities to connect the entrepreneurs with resources within and outside the accelerator program. And then last is the post-accelerator stage. Again, as I said previously, as you go through this accelerator, as one goes through this accelerator, what are the ways in which there can be continued support post-accelerator, and making sure that you have an opportunity to go to maybe another accelerator, pitch investors, or inform policy. Just continue to put folks in these positions to be extremely successful at such a high level. So again, with a lot of work that we try to do, it's around innovating, really understanding the accelerators can drive innovation and create a sustainable future. Scale, we really emphasize scale here. I think in order for this tipping point to occur, a lot of the transformative solutions need to be global, really steeped in local needs, but able to withstand and be resilient, to understand ways that it can embed itself into geographies, into cultures across the world. And then long-term progress, understanding that this is very much a marathon, not a short-term sprint. And the more that we can set people up for success now and then help pursue that success long-term is crucial. So with that, thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Onyeka. And actually, right now we are moving to Q&A session, discussion, and getting back to our questions to get answers to those questions. Question from Oleg Kartavtsev. The question about management waste law. After that, recycling of polymers came out of the shadows, from granules to ready-made, already products that are present on the market. What should be the mechanism of control of such things, and whether Ministry of Environment is planning to do something? It is a question to representatives of Ministry of Environmental Protection, Natural Resources. Yurii and Viktoriia, could you please answer? Unfortunately, I don't want to disinform you because we do not have here representatives of Profile Direction. It's just the only thing that I know, that we have developed project of National Plan of Waste Management, and there we talk about POPs. But that's a question for separate discussion, so unfortunately I cannot help you here. Thanks a lot in any case. And now I see that we have next question from Viktoriia Bondarenko. What green chemistry metrics are used to assess the greenness of a chemical company in Ukraine? Lars, maybe you can answer this question.
Yeah, sure. I can certainly start. So, as we all know, there are many sort of small-scale metrics. There's it's hard to really have one type of metrics that is a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, right, in the moment. So what metrics to use to assess a chemical company, especially in Ukraine? I would say metrics are universal, so especially for Ukraine, I don't know if there's one that is tailored for companies there, but I would start with atom economy. Atom economy is a simple metric, which many of us have already seen in the Train the Facilitator workshop earlier, which really sort of measures the incorporation of atoms from a chemical reaction, from starting material with reagents into the product. What's that ratio? Hopefully, most of the atoms that we're using in a chemical process will be found in the product. That's one. Then we can have other metrics like the E factor, the environmental factor, which usually relates the mass of a product with the mass of the waste that we generate during the process. So this is another pretty good metric. And I think thinking about the question is done in the chat, that's not so much related to the company, it's more for a product, right? It's more for something specific. So if a company sort of prepares many different products, a paint, then maybe also a solvent or something different. So those metrics should be sort of calculated through for each individual product that a company does. Another important metric that people often use is the process mass intensity, which is sort of a derivative of the total mass of things used during a chemical synthesis divided by the mass of the product. Again, like how much material do we incorporate? Those metrics are sort of the typical ones that you can also find in the literature, but one that I want to measure and that Thomas Jakoll also sort of related to with chemical leasing sort of presentation that he gave is the F factor, the functional factor, right? And the functional factor, I think, is a beautiful metric that we don't see everywhere, but that has actually a lot of meaning, especially for chemicals. How many functional units, so to say, can I fulfill with a specific mass of a product? Thinking about window cleaner, for example, how many windows of a specific square meter size can I clean with 1 liter of the product? So those kind of metrics are pretty nice, I would say, to really make an impact, because it will drive the chemical company towards selling the function and making the product last longer, instead of simply selling as much volume of the product as we possibly can. So I think that thing is really a fantastic drive, and I guess that Thomas would agree on that. And then one more before I give it over to Thomas, maybe. Life cycle assessment. I think life cycle assessment is a very complex metric, but it's a metric that can have or can give us a pretty good idea of how efficient and how environmentally benign a product can be, because it considers so many individual factors. It considers the footprint on water, a footprint on air pollution. It considers all the different inputs into a product or a chemical process. What's my impact on water? What's my impact on air purity? Can I recycle any of the inputs, or does any of the inputs come out of a recycling from a previous product? Can I use my side product maybe that I oftentimes have in a production process for something else? So life cycle assessment is a really complex but very holistic metric to be able to calculate a footprint efficiently. So those are the metrics that I would add here. Thomas, I'll open it up to you.
If I may continue building up about what Lars was saying, I totally agree with his approaches. But as to metrics which is directed towards a real company, we have in the European Union, and I think there are many similar schemes, the environmental management and auditing system. And this is a really company-oriented system where you start with assessing the current environmental profile of a company, and then together with the management, you agree upon a development plan in order to optimize the environment profile. There is one for the chemicals industry on international scale having a similar approach, the Responsible Care Scheme. And currently, we see that on the global investment arena, there is a growing tendency to judge if an investment is a green investment. And so there are rising sets of criteria making sure that an investment is really done for a so-called green company. And in the EU, we have two instruments corresponding. The one is the Sustainable Reporting Directive, where companies from 25 onwards are obliged to report on their sustainability performance. And on the other hand, we have the so-called taxonomy scheme, which is defining what is making an investment into sustainable development. And so there is a set of instruments which are available to judge the environmental performance of a company. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Andrii, you wanted to say something? Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add to Lars and Thomas' words concerning one indicator, because we all would like to have, of course, one indicator that will show us, level of performance, to have only one ring that will manage all the others. But unfortunately, we do not have such indicators. And even if you talk about life cycle assessment, as Lars have mentioned, even there we have lots of different other indicators that also can be compared between each other. So that's why actually it is extremely important for each enterprise to choose their own. We, in Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center, working with enterprises, we even saw that from one sector, enterprises cannot only be compared between each other to understand whether they use their resources effectively. That's why, of course, the most modern approaches is to compare ourselves in time, and that's what Thomas has mentioned. It's systems of ecological management. It's to measure how green is enterprise. We can only, with the presence of those managing companies and constant improvement on the industries, how they monitor the system and how they improve their processes. That's like integral indicator. Yes, thank you, Lars, thank you, Thomas, thank you, Andrii, for your answers, comprehensive answers to question from Viktoriia. We have the last question from the chat from Olga Tsogulova. Oleksandr, that's to you. Get ready. How POPs get into utensils, and what, in your opinion, are alternatives to plastic utensils and plastic plates and dishes in Ukraine? Oleksandr, please. First and foremost, I would like to mention that such a plastic dishes, like all those disposable dishes, some of them are plastic, some of them are paper. So that's why technologies are different and fast different here. If we talk about paper dishes, this fast will be only in, for example, cup. If it's plastic product, then FAS is in chemical composition that is later melted, and it goes to an extruder to create foil, and then to be formed in some kind of next equipment. So this FAS is going to be later processed. So that's a question to the producer of this product or this raw material that later comes to production for processing this disposable plastic. So whether Ukraine has some kind of barrier for import of such products, well, probably that's the work of customs services. They should be monitoring whether these products are in that raw material that is crossing the border of Ukraine. But the thing is that, for instance, producer of some granulate can hide hazardous components under some regular titles. For instance, FAS can be covered as substantial active substances, because lots of FAS has such properties. So that's why just title might not tell about anything and do not provide safety for those materials that are crossing the border of Ukraine. Very often it's on the conscience of the supplier. It's a question of trust in the market, reviews about supplier if it comes from abroad to Ukraine. That's my opinion. Thanks a lot. And I see that we have no other questions. So then we managed to manage our timeline, and I would like to mention that we have answered all the questions in the chat. Thank you for being active, to participants and speakers. I would like to remind you that if you have any other questions, then you can write them in the chat, and to email of Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center even after the event if you want to get answers to your questions. And now we are going to sum up our today's event, and I would like to give the floor to Andrii Vorfolomeiev, Director of Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center. Please, Andrii. Thank you, Kateryna. Yes, to sum up, I do not want to take lots of time because it was a 3-hour event, very intensive one. I would like to mention 3 main directions we were talking about today from the point of view of implementing green chemistry in our country. It's communication, formation of a policy, and support of real initiatives. And national examples on implementing green chemistry. If we are talking about platform of communications that were showed today by Adelina and Ashley, you saw this in English so far, and that's you see that it's something new. It was only launched in June, July, so that's why I believe that on this stage, platform will be only developing. That's why I encourage everyone to join that platform, to test this platform, and to write your feedback directly to American Chemical Society or from us, because we're also going to be active participants of this work. And here I would like to draw your attention that we as users might have significant impact and help develop the platform and to make it more comfortable for all of us. For instance, if previously in our experience, we were working on the assistant, IGO assistant for the support of assessment, basic assessment, self-assessment concerning its resource efficiency. And when we noticed interest from Ukrainian enterprises, this tool, online tool, later was translated from English into Ukrainian, and now it's also available in Ukrainian. So if we keep on using this platform, if we are active, then I think that the platform will change and adjust itself to users, and also maybe Ukrainian language will be one of the options. And that's what we see in the world of video games, for instance. If there is a demand, of course, there will be a supply. So that's why I encourage to use this platform and to be active. Concerning policy formation that Viktoriia and Thomas were talking about, and it's extremely important opinion that policy from the point of view of dealing with chemicals as just prohibition of chemical substances, that's already yesterday. And the problem of such policies when we prohibit something is in the fact that we do not give the opportunity for enterprises to develop. We have this incentive to get certain threshold to stay there and just to have formal requirement. But there is no incentive to take next steps and to continue its development. That's why we need to form new approaches and policies. And this work is possible only if we all together keep on working with the governmental bodies, cooperate and help create this policy and provide even and sending this feedback from those people who are working with chemicals to ministries and vice versa, because initiatives also have to be spread, told, and in reverse way as well. Also concerning real initiatives, examples, practices, and how these initiatives might be supported through startups, through different challenges and competitions and demo companies in Ukraine, for instance. We're also going to help substitute chemicals with green alternatives. Oleksandr, Olena, Onyeka, Mahlet, and what I can add here is that if in this direction, yes, we will keep on working with enterprises, and we will help these enterprises to make specific national cases. But on the other hand, we will work wider. It's already what Olena has mentioned in November, where teams from various universities or from other part of Ukraine will try to creatively solve the problem provided by our industrial partners, and they will compete for some prize. We also mentioned Startup Accelerator that we are planning to launch within this program, Innovations and Networks of Green Chemistry next year. And during this startup, of course, it's a standard problem. We will help them develop their developments to more commercially interesting product, and then there, I think mentors will be able to tell what programs we might use to create really great presentations, because it is part of this startup spirit. And Mahlet, that's her company was a startup at the beginning. So it's actually a story that might inspire. And now it's a really big company. And concerning our next days, I would like to say that we still have training for facilitators. Green chemistry, we have already conducted training for facilitators, and I believe that those people will become part of the project, and then they will help us during the next years in our activities. They will be like trainers or mentors, or some kind of startuppers, or they might take part in challenges or partners of our events. That's why I think this is a really great step. And I also would like to invite all other stakeholders to be in touch with us, because even this year we are going to have one more informational event, and maybe you already have certain developments that we might present there to have more Ukrainian cases and more interesting national producers. So please stay with us, and my colleagues later will invite you to evaluate event, and I also would like you to do that. And separately, I would like to mention that we had learning course on circular economy. That's not green chemistry, but something similar, and maybe it will be interesting for you as well. You can find it on the website of Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center. And at the end, I would like to express my gratitude to all of you for being with us for 3 hours, and my gratitude to all the speakers. Kateryna, the floor is yours. Thank you, Andrii. I would like to express my gratitude to all the speakers for sharing your experience. Thank you, dear participants, for your interest, comments, questions on implementing of green chemistry on the territory of Ukraine. I would like to say that if you have some additional questions or offers or suggestions, then you can write them in the chat, and please write your email and we will answer. Traditionally, we would like to ask all participants to evaluate the quality of our online event. There is a link in the chat, and please leave your feedbacks. Your opinion is important for us because we are striving to be better. Dear participants, we encourage you once again to take part in Green Chemistry Hackathon that will take place at the beginning of November. There is a link in the chat, and please follow our updates in our social networks to know everything as soon as possible. As usual, all participants will get presentation materials today with a link to video and post-release. And we are grateful for being here with us. We wish inspiration and new achievements. See you soon, and good luck and goodbye.